Hello guys, and welcome to Foresight Timeline Hangout 102. I'm calling this episode, this hangout, Defamation. I wasn't going to make one this month, but with the unsealing of those documents in the United States, that chiselling little whore Virginia Giuffre and Maxwell, the civil case has been a lot of chatter, a lot of talk, a lot of nonsense, and I've made several videos on Prince Andrew, including Prince Andrew not guilty. I was going to make another one called Prince Andrew Still Not Guilty, but I'll cover the whole shebang here. First, let me clear a few things up. Jeffrey Epstein was not a paedophile, right? He did not, as far as we know, abuse prepubescent girls. He paid for massages from slightly underage girls in Florida. He was brought to book for that, and there's been a whole lot of nonsense written about this and spouted about this. So let's go back to basics. He was over 50 and they were girls. This is Palm Beach Post, August the 4th, 2006, page 28. This is from Newsbank, the online database. If the women whom Palm Beach police say a part-time town resident invited to his home and paid for sex acts were in fact women, the solicitation charge against Jeffrey Epstein might feel more sufficient. But according to police records, they weren't. He was over 50 and they were girls. 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old girls. That should count for something. The difference between prostitution and paedophilia. No. Or pedophilia as they call it in America. No. Pedophilia is young girls. A 10-year-old, for example. So it's baffling that Mr. Epstein was indicted last month by a grand jury on one felony count of solicitation of prostitution, has not been charged, as Palm Beach police strenuously urged, with unlawful sex acts with a minor and lewd and lascivious molestation. Well, if they were doing the massages, then they were molesting him, weren't they? But incitement or whatever. Mr. Epstein, a 53-year-old Manhattan money manager, who hired Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz and defence attorney Jack Goldberger, as he lied down how old the girls were. Well, that isn't being true. But police interviews with 5 alleged victims and 17 witnesses under oath, as well as phone messages, a high school transcript and other items the police found from searching Mr. Epstein's trash. I'm showing you news that they were teenagers. One girl couldn't show up when Mr. Epstein wanted because she had soccer. Another time, Mr. Epstein had to wait for his massage session because the girl he wanted was still in class. Police also note in their reports that the State Attorney's Office offered Mr. Epstein a plea deal that would have placed him on probation for 5 years, allowing him ultimately to walk away with no criminal record at all. Well, that didn't happen, did it? This is by Elisa Kramer, an editorial writer for Palm Beach Post. Right, the next article I have is November 2nd, 2007, New York Post, page 003. Perv nixes deal, billionaire flips plea. Billionaire Jeffrey Epstein has backed out of a plea deal that would have sent him to prison for 18 months for frolicking with underage girls and left him a registered sex offender, the Post has learned. He agreed to plead guilty later this month to a single charge of soliciting sex from an underage prostitute at his Florida mansion, but has now changed his mind, paving the way for a sensational and sordid trial in Palm Beach in January, sources said. Yeah, nowadays we say there is no such thing as an underage prostitute. These girls are not prostitutes. Even if one approaches the client, a dude on the street, and offers her services, that she isn't a prostitute. And if he is unwise enough to accept her proposition, he could be in a lot of trouble. Well, while Florida prosecutors charged that Epstein had been hiring hookers as young as 14 for massages, he maintains he thought and was told that all were 18 or older. The 11-month police investigation however cast doubt on that claim because cops said that on March the 15th, 2005, a 14-year-old girl alleged she had visited Epstein's estate, where she partially stripped and gave him a massage, during which he pulled out a purple vibrator. He used it on her exchange. I shouldn't laugh. He used it on her in exchange for $300. They also interviewed a woman named Hayley Robinson, who described herself as like a Heidi Fleiss. Heidi Fleiss was a madam, a woman who runs a brothel, and admitted bringing 6 girls between the ages of 14 and 16 to Epstein's house. The age of consent in Florida is 18 as opposed to 16 in the UK, and he was 18 at the time. I suppose Epstein could have, there are countries where the age of consent is lower, or he could have hired prostitutes to dress up as schoolgirls. but he didn't. He made his bed and had to lie in it, so to speak. But he did this. Now, let's have a look at the third article. A teenage girl filed a $50 million lawsuit against a New York billionaire Thursday, saying he sexually abused her when she was 14. That was West Palm Beach, Associated Press. This is a wire. I'm not sure what paper it is. It's Associated Press. It says page 1, but Associated Press isn't a newspaper. Jeffrey Epstein's attorney, Lily Ann Sanchez, said the allegations are false and motivated by money. Well, yeah, certainly motivated by money. The girl, now 17, identified only as Jane Doe, claims Epstein invited her to his Palm Beach mansion in 2005 to perform a massage for £300. She claims he demanded she remove her clothes and sexually assaulted her. Now, these allegations all these really serious, these are serious allegations, but in Britain, for things like this, he would have got probably 5 years at most for the whole lot. In the United States, for the second time, he was looking at spending life behind bars. And Ghislaine Maxwell is serving a 20-year sentence, which is ridiculous. The same article says that the father of this teen pleaded guilty in 2001 to 3 federal fraud counts, accusing him of arranging fraudulent loans as a mortgage broker. The Associated Press is not naming the father to protect the girl's identity. Well, it wouldn't take too much effort to find out his name. I'm not going to bother with it because he isn't even a player. Epstein was also sued last year in New York by a woman who claims he had sex with her at his Manhattan mansion in 2000 when she was 16. Well, do you believe that? This whole thing is just, what does get me? Oh, this is a classic. Gerald Lefcourt, Epstein's New York attorney, also denied the allegations of the New York case. He also said in court papers that UNROC, that's William Unruh, the attorney on the other side, Unruh and his client, who was actually a man living as a female, filed a similar lawsuit in a separate case. No, I don't think Epstein was a homo. He may be many things, but he wasn't a homo. Now, before I go any further with, if you think I'm taking this lightly, let me just give you some background to some of the grooming gang cases in Britain. This is from the BBC website, October 17th last year. Rotherham child sex abuse gang ringleader admits rape. Please excuse the creaking table for the nth time. Muhammad Imran Ali Akhtar was a ringleader of a gang in Rotherham that sexually exploited and abused young girls between 1997 and 2013, the court heard. A man who was serving a 23-year prison term for leading a gang that sexually exploited children in Rotherham was admitted raping a 13-year-old girl. Now, this is, this is not like Epstein was like, he shouldn't have done what he did. The girls were well remunerated for massages. What happened here it says here, he groomed the teenager by providing with alcohol and drugs each time they met, said a spokesperson. Okay, you didn't have to take them, but there's a gang here of 6 of them. All were jailed in 2018. Some of the abuse these girls suffered, I think most of them would have, if they'd have been groomed by Epstein, would have been happy about it. I don't think any of these were happy though. There's another one here. It's got the same bloke, but this is the same gang. This is a much earlier report. This is October 29th, 2018, so it's 5 years earlier. 7 men have been convicted of a series of sexual offences, the biggest prosecution of a Rotherham grooming gang. The biggest prosecution of a Rotherham grooming gang, not a grooming gang. One girl aged about 14 at the time was forced by her parents to have an abortion after being raped by a group of men in the forest. I mean, this is sick, man. This is absolutely sick. It's same Muhammad Akhtar. Let's find one more. Let's find a Rochdale grooming gang. I mean, just 5 men guilty of sexually exploiting 2 girls in Rochdale. 2 brothers were among 5 men from Rochdale to have been found guilty of sexually exploiting 2 girls from the age of 13 and 14. The men had denied 80 counts dating back to 2002-2006, when some of them were teenagers. The complainants are both now 33. On Thursday, the Crown Prosecution Service said Mohammed Ghani and Insar Hussain. This is there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Good grief! Yeah, 4 of them. And a 5th man, a white man named Martin Rhodes, pleaded guilty to 4 counts of penalties with sex with a child. I mean, Epstein wasn't doing anything like this. And these scum. These scum. I mean, just some of these girls were, really physically badly abused as well. We know what Epstein did, right? There's no denying that. But what did other people do? What other men and female accomplices? Not a lot. As I say, Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years. Her trial was not held on the internet, as it was a federal trial and cameras not allowed, but the reporting on it what did she do? It's if you read up on what she's supposed to have done, I mean, it's pathetic. She got 20 years for that. Now, the woman who's caused all the trouble, especially for Prince Andrew, is a conniving little whore named, well, the former Virginia Roberts. This is really remarkable. What has happened here is that this is a complete media stitch-up. The media, I mean, I've detailed this, other people have, including two titled women, Lady Victoria Harvey and Lady Colin Campbell. Lady Colin Campbell is a royal insider and then some. She was the first person to announce the death of the Queen, and she really knows what she's talking about. She has amazing sources. Lady Harvey is a former girlfriend of Prince Andrew. I don't think she has the hots for him. She's just driven by she wants to see justice done, and he has really been I mean, it's outrageous. Now, first of all was the photograph. I'm sure you're all familiar with it, but here it is again. This photograph shows a 17-year-old girl having fun. She would have the world believe that she was in effect raped by Prince Andrew that night. He has denied meeting her. He claims the photograph is a fake. Well, no, he says he had no recollection of meeting her, which implies the photograph is a fake. Lady Victoria believes it's a fake. Now, I say she's done a lot of work on this. She's spoken to a lot of people who are close to Epstein, including victims. I think we can call them victims. She believes the photograph was manufactured by Maria Farmer, who was an artist who was, if Epstein had treated her a bit better, if he'd have given her a cheque for 100 grand or something, none of this would have happened. But Lady Victoria believes the photograph was manufactured, that somebody else there, and it's in effect, well, other people have expressed that, have suggested that it might be fake, including this guy, Andrew Lowney, who is an author of some repute and no friend of, well, I won't say no friend of the Royals, but who believes Lord Mountbatten was a homo and claims he's seen evidence from American files, and he's tried to tie Lord Mountbatten to the King Cora Boys home scandal. I don't know how much that to be, but he's a bit sceptical of this photograph.
And, you know, to be fair, there are certain, there's quite a lot of evidence to suggest that that picture was doctored.
Do you think it was?
I haven't come to a conclusion on it yet, but some of the stuff that I've been shown is quite convincing. You know, where the arm should be. I mean, experts in taking photographs. You know, the reflection in the eyes, the perspectives, and of course we don't have the origin of the picture, and the person who discovered it with him. Sharon Churcher has begun to distance herself from Virginia Giuffre. Giuffre's testimony has been shown to be not always consistent. She accused Alan Dershowitz, an American lawyer, of having been trafficked to her, and he won a case against her. She settled a case.
I'm going to show you another photograph. This is the problem with photographs. This photograph shows what purports to be a member of the Islets group and shooting someone on the Eastern Front, probably a Jew. Now, if you look at it carefully, there are a lot of photographs like this. They look fake. They've been heavily... I really don't know how to describe this, but Udo Valendi published a book called Forced War Crimes Malign the German Nation, in which he produces a whole raft of these photographs and says they're all fake. Now, the problem is these photographs are not fake. Well, some are miscaptioned, right? Some are willfully misleading. This one I've actually seen, not this particular photograph, but a film of the scene taken from another angle of, I think maybe this guy actually being shot. So this photograph, this probably isn't a photograph. This is a still from a camera. Now, even without the retouching, for whatever reason, cameras do strange things. I'll give you an example. Another example. I've done quite a lot of searching and I can't find the photograph which I was looking for, but this is of the 7-7 bombers in London. I think it was at Luton, on the way to London. But there's a similar photograph which apparently shows one of them with his arm through a fence. And photographs like that, I remember somebody claimed that this was proof that it was a fake. Well, no. Cheap cameras and recordings did all sorts of things. I mean, if you make an audio recording, it won't sound like, depending on the quality of the equipment, it won't sound the way it sounded when you heard it, and cameras as well. And the point I'm making is that unless you have the original photograph, unless you have the negative, you can't tell if the photograph is genuine. Now, again, there was no negative here. This was, I think, it was a Polaroid. Virginia Giuffre claimed that, well, apparently it was developed in a shop. But even if it's genuine, what does it prove? It proves exactly the same as this photograph. I've used this analogy before. This is John Wayne Gacy, the serial killer. He was photographed here with the First Lady of the United States a few months before his arrest. So what does that prove? That Jimmy Carter was in league with him? No. Then there's the fact that when this photograph came to light, it didn't come to light until it was 2011. Some people said that Giuffre was hiding out in Australia for 12 years. No. What happened was she was sent to Thailand to take a massage course, sent there by Epstein, and the idea was that she would bring back a Thai girl on her return. So she was a trafficker. But while she was there, she met her cuck husband. I don't want to put this guy down because he's obviously a decent bloke, but he married a prostitute, you know. They had a whirlwind romance and she went to live in the outback and became a housewife and a mother of 3. Now, I'll give her credit for that. She broke away from the lifestyle. But then she reappears and suddenly she's St. Virginia. No. When that photograph was first shown, it was, the media pointed out, I've done this, I've made videos about this. There was no suggestion that the prince has done anything wrong. None at all. And then years later, she was sexually abused. She was trafficked. She was forced to have sex with him. She was paid to have sex with him. Paid! She was 17 at the time. The age of consent in London is 16. In England is 16. Not 17, 16. She was working at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago in Florida. She also falsely accused two young men, two buddies of hers, of raping her. She'd had a threesome with them. Disgusting little whore that she is. She'd had a threesome with them, and then she accused them of rape. She'd accused another bloke of trafficking her before Epstein, a guy who was importing women from behind what was the Iron Curtain. He was a sex trafficker, but he was dealing in overage women, adult women, whether or not they were prostitutes. And there's no credible evidence that she ever met him. She lied and lied and lied, and the media just goes along with it. They go along with it. she also accused, well, she's accused many people, but she accused Alan Dershowitz of rape, or of having sex with her when she was underage. Dershowitz said he never met her, called her a liar. She sued him. He countersued, and suddenly she dropped the case. She wasn't sure it was him. No. The reality is that Alan Dershowitz is not only a lawyer, an academic, a TV pundit. He's somebody who will have a full diary. Like Brett Kavanaugh, I'll put a link to the Kavanaugh case below. But like Brett Kavanaugh, he can probably tell you by looking at his diary where he was every day for the past 30, 50 years. In a civil case, there was something called discovery. Well, it's called disclosure here. In criminal cases it is now, but there's a discovery phase, and she would have had to produce evidence, documentary evidence, that she'd actually met him. He was able to produce documentary evidence to the contrary, so she dropped it. Dershowitz was extremely magnanimous, I would say dishonestly magnanimous, or magnanimously dishonest, because he accepts her retraction, her apology, whatever. He said before he wanted to see her in prison. That's where she belongs, in prison. She was a co-conspirator. By her own admission, I've made videos about this. I'll put a link to them below. By her own admission, she recruited underage girls for Epstein. And her claim is that because she was 17 or 16 at the time, this doesn't count, shouldn't count. Well, no, it does count. Philip Chisholm was 14 when he murdered his teacher. He's in prison for, if not life, for a long time. There's another underage kid, Aidan Fucci, who is a horrible case. He's behind bars for a long time. Eric Smith was 13 years old when he murdered, I think it was a 4-year-old boy. He served something like 25 or 28 years. 25 years, I think it was. Well, it was 25 or 28 years, a long time, for a murder he committed when he was 13. And 2 12-year-old girls are currently behind bars, maybe in the nut house in Wisconsin. The Slender Man case, they stabbed a fellow 12-year-old, another 12-year-old, a friend, so-called friend, who miraculously survived. Yes, when they took their friends, stabbed her some ludicrous number of times, including the heart, but somehow she survived. And they're going to be away to 40. They were 12 at the time. So if 12-year-olds can be held culpable for really horrible crimes, 60, 70-year-olds could be held liable for, well, crimes of this nature. Sweet Virginia wasn't even called to testify at the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell. Why do you think that was? Because she's told so many lies, she would have been torn to pieces under cross-examination, and quite likely she'd have to have pleaded the fifth for many of the questions, because, as I said, she should have been in the dock with her. Well, they don't have docks in American courtrooms, but you get my drift. I think, if anything, she was more culpable than Maxwell, because, you know, by her own admission she was recruiting girls, and Maxwell has denied everything. Talking of Alan Dershowitz, in a recent interview, he compared this case with the reaction of so-called feminists and many others, so-called radicals, to that horrible business in October in Israel. And there's a report in almayadeen.net. On almayadeen.net. Epstein associate Alan Dershowitz shifts the blame on Hamas. Instead of focusing on his association with Epstein and the mentions of him in the now released dossiers, Dershowitz wants feminists and radicals, quotation marks, to know that it's not the worst thing in the world to be a friend of Epstein's. Well, I mean, just let's get this straight. Association, smear by. This is what this is. The idea that Jeffrey Epstein, once he was convicted, everybody who knew would disown him, would have no association with him. Now, Prince Andrew was foolish because he was obviously a friend of Epstein, and he maintained that friendship after Epstein's conviction, which, don't forget, it was convicted for soliciting prostitution. Not the most serious of offences. I doubt Andrew had any inkling of the extent of what he was doing. He's smeared for that. Bill Clinton, because he rode on Epstein's plane. Dershowitz, because he acted for him as a lawyer. Well, you know, there are millions, literally millions of people in America alone who have criminal records, some of them a lot more serious than Epstein. There are people who are convicted of quite violent crimes or very violent crimes, and they have, you know, many of them have families. When they come out of prison, they have to have somewhere to live. Some want to turn over a new leaf. I mean, the people convicted of murder who are out there living lives. Now, you know, there are some people, I mean, police officers, judges, etc., are not supposed to associate with known criminals, etc. But the idea that anyone who associated with Epstein, anyone who worked for him or with him, is, yeah, they're associates, but so what? This is guilt by association. And there is some evidence that he attempted to, I'd say, turn over a new leaf, but he did good things as well, Epstein, you know. So he wasn't a one-dimensional character. And he appeared to be trying to make amends for his past, even if he didn't dissociate himself from it. So these sorts of smears, the idea that there's this grand conspiracy. Look, we've seen the way conspiracies work with Donald Trump, the way the deep state has gone after him, the Democrats, the way the media has lied. With this, I mean, was Epstein really running an entrapment operation for the CIA or whatever? I don't think so. Anyway, you can judge for yourself. The documents are on the court listener website. You may have problems accessing it because there's been a heavy load on the site, but I've looked through the documents, and well, legal documents can be rather tiresome to read. The summaries you'll find on various websites are good enough, unless you want to go into it in real depth. But basically, this, you know, a lot of this is just a tissue of lies. So we should keep a sense of perspective here. I don't think it was any great trafficking ring. You know, I'm sorry, but I don't believe that. And I've seen real conspiracies in action, and I think a lot of this covering up is to protect innocent people from. The police and the authorities do this because if your name is associated, if you're named in the press as a suspect in a rape or a murder or something, or terrorist, it does stick. I think a lot of this is because Epstein was an extremely wealthy individual, and he's associated with a lot of influential, wealthy, powerful people, well-known people, and I don't think it's fair for them to be smeared. I mean, one of the people he associated with, who he met, was David Copperfield, the magician, and Copperfield was actually been falsely accused of rape. I'll put a link to that below. Some woman claimed that years ago that he raped her. Any powerful person, any man who is powerful in politics and business, well known, etc., can and will be smeared as something, and I think this is just a measure to protect them. And I think Ghislaine Maxwell, her sentence is really outrageous. 20 years in Britain, she'd have got maybe 2 or 3 of that, and I don't think Epstein would have been facing a hell of a lot of time. And if you compare his crimes with the crimes of the grooming gangs, there is actually no comparison. Anyway, that is my final word on this case. On this, it isn't just Virginia Giuffre who's told lies. There's others as well. They tried to rope in Donald Trump and even Hillary Clinton. And basically, there's the women the girls he was supposed to have abused, if they suffered at all, they suffered minimally. I mean, giving a guy a massage, okay, it shouldn't be done, but it's, it's like drinking alcohol or smoking when you're underage. I mean, if it's done once or twice, it ain't going to cause a great deal of harm or any harm at all. So this whole thing is just complete nonsense. Anyway, I don't know if I'm going to be making another hangout. Got lots of other things to do, but I refer you to the stuff. I haven't yet added Virginia Giuffre Roberts to the timeline. I will do at some point if I live long enough. But she's really a disgusting human being, and I think most of the lawyers. I mean, one other point here. One other point. She has used expensive lawyers. I mean, the case against Dershowitz and against Giuffre, especially case against Dershowitz, and especially the case against Ghislaine Maxwell. Where did the money come from? There are wealthy people, including one odious lawyer, who for some reason got in for, if not Prince Andrew, then the royal family as a whole. And I think there's a lot of the whole business is sordid and very. There's a lot of disreputable people here. So don't believe anything you read if it's written by Virginia Giuffre. And she's actually running a charity, a non-profit for victims. This woman should be behind bars. She should be in prison. She should be sharing a cell with Ghislaine Maxwell. It really, she shouldn't be allowed to run a non-profit. I doubt very much the authorities will look into it.